got fire coming out of my eyes.
NFL Week 8 is wrapping up on Hallows Eve, and I honestly am more confused than ever about who is and who isn't good. It's like every team is wearing a costume, tricking me. The Raiders get shut out for the first time in 8 years. The Panthers and Falcons put on a show to take over the NFC South, and Stephon Diggs bit his tongue mid-game, which is ironic considering the one thing he couldn't do before the game was bite his tongue. Let's recap all the best and worst players, plays, moments, and shenanigans from Week 8. Who's the sponsor? Oh yeah, manscaped.com/goodsports. The grooming products that Manscaped has created with the Lawnmower 4.0 for all of your body hair trimming needs. The body wash, the shampoo, they're all designed to streamline your shower time. I personally spend as much time as I can in the shower, as it's the only time I have any peace and quiet in my day. And now I'm scrubbing every inch of my body. Every inch, even that one, you sick person, with the Body Buffer, which is a handheld body exfoliator brush designed to remove dead skin, bacteria, and reduce ingrown hairs, which for me applies to any part of my body. My hair has hair. Was I supposed to talk about how hairy I am? Does that help sell body buffers? I don't know, but these make me feel more manly than using a loofah, and I'll never be able to use anything else again. Just use my link below to get 20% off and free shipping. And if you opt into the Buff Bundle, you get 2 bottles of the Ultra Premium Body Wash as well. Link below. All right, let's start off with the best QB. I'll be damned, it's Tua Tagovailoa. Maybe that's what the Lions defense will do to a man, but in his second week back from the infamous concussions in his back, Tua threw 3 touchdown passes, 1 to Mike Gesicki and 2 to Jalen Waddle, who has the greatest touchdown celebration in NFL history. A man named Waddle, who is a Dolphin, waddling really is the perfect pairing. It would be like if St. Jude played for the Saints and his touchdown song was Hey Jude. Now, Tyreek Hill finished the weekend as the NFL's leading receiver with 188 yards, and he and Waddle through 8 games have combined for more receiving yards with 1,688 than any receiving duo ever. They have more receiving yards than Tua has passing yards this season. The only 2 QBs this weekend with higher passer ratings than Tua were Christian McCaffrey and Jalen Hurts. I gave Tua the edge over Hurts because Tua had to dig his team out of a 14-0 deficit and then a 21-7 deficit. My runner-up, though, was indeed Jalen Hurts, who was the only QB to throw more touchdown passes than Tua with 4. Jalen Hurts completed 1 more pass than Russell Wilson on Sunday, on 2 more attempts, and threw for just 33 more yards. Statistically, they had nearly identical days outside the obvious 4-1 on passing touchdowns, that difference. Hell, they were both even sacked 3 times. Both made some great throws, but Hurts plays for a better team with better weapons, a threatening run game, and therefore looked a million times better based on the difference of essentially 2 to 3 plays. And that is the difference in the NFL between being a hero and being a target every week. But Jalen Hurts balling out. Worst QB? Well, there were 2 bad QBs in the Jets-Patriots game, but the worst of the worst belongs to Zachy Wilson, who couldn't even throw the ball away without it getting picked off. Wilson ended up throwing for 355 yards and 2 TDs, which sounds nice, but 3 costly picks in what could have been a landmark game for the Jets against their bitter rivals. Which leads me to the worst play, this rightfully called roughing the passer penalty on the Jets at the end of the second quarter that negated an 84-yard pick 6 for the Jets defense and basically served as a turning point in the Jets' loss to the Pats. Worst ass kisser? McCorkle Jones. After the victory, this was Mac talking about Bill Belichick, who became the 2nd winningest coach in NFL history with victory number 325 passing George Halas.
Huge congratulations to Coach Belichick on his accomplishment, and Obviously, he's done a great job here, and it's just a blessing to be able to play for him.
And Mac Jones sounds more like a prisoner reading from a script than someone who feels genuinely blessed to play with his coach.
To be his quarterback right now is just a huge blessing.
I'd like to thank my coach Belichick for his massive success. Oh, please God, Bill, don't beat me. Please God, Bill, don't beat me. I know we won and I didn't play well. Don't beat me, Bill. Don't beat me. We do have a bunch of winners of the next best individual performances. Let's just call this the 3-touchdown club. A.J. Brown became the first Eagles player with 3 TDs and a half since Kevin Curtis in 2007. Brown has 659 receiving yards on the season, which is hilarious considering that every single Titans receiver has combined for 658 yards. Who would have guessed we'd see the Titans fall short by 1 yard? Oh yeah, every Titans fan ever. Alvin Kamara coming in hot with 2 receiving touchdowns and a rushing TD. He was the Saints' leading rusher and receiver. He had more combined yards at 158 than Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, and Davante Adams combined. I'll have more on that game in a bit though. Derrick Henry gets the award as well. Most games with 200 rushing yards and 2+ touchdowns, now at 6. 4 of those games where Henry goes over 200 came against the Texans, so we have to grade on some kind of anti-curve, I guess, here. Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, and LT only have 3 such games ever. 118 of Henry's rushing yards came against stacked boxes, so don't ask me how you fucking defend him. Dante Foreman, he's boasted back-to-back 118-yard rushing games, and yes, hit the end zone 3 times on Sunday. Best new addition who may have had hardcore heterosex with his new head coach? Christian McCaffrey. I don't know what else would have happened after these 2 gents looked at each other in this fashion. Anyway, Run CMC had a rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown. First guy to do that since 2005 when LaDainian Tomlinson did it. First player with 30 rushing, receiving, and passing yards since 2018. Who did that last? Oh yeah, it was Christian McCaffrey. Tim Tebow's wedding night was actually the last time a Christian scored this much. And my final best 3 TD performer goes to one Tony Pollard and the Dallas Cowboys, who earn this week's Best Offense Award. Now this was tough. And although there were a bunch of great individual performers on Sunday, not a single offense put up insane stats. It was a very efficient weekend, if you will, so I'm going with the Cowboys, who did score 6 touchdowns against the Bears in a 49-29 beatdown. Dak played great. Tony Pollard was unstoppable. And if the offense continues at this pace, the Cowboys could end up being the 2nd best team in the NFC. Go Birds. It's pretty impressive when 4 different offensive players score touchdowns, especially when one of those guys had 3. This game also featured my worst fortune play. Justin Fields, poor guy, actually scrambles and makes a nice effort to get his back the ball, only to see David Montgomery fumble. Micah Parsons recovers the fumble, but instead of touching him down, Justin Fields picks the worst time to do a Josh Allen hurdling impression, which allowed the Cowboys to score the defensive TD. Best, Gardner Minshew? No surprise here, it's Gardner Minshew, coming in for the blowout and victory, completing 1 pass for 23 yards and the victory formation. The Jets should really consider trading for Gardner Minshew and letting him not only lead them to the playoffs, but take over Joe Namath as the greatest sex symbol in franchise history. Best defense, worst game? Saints Raiders. Saints get the best defense, which fittingly means the team they shut out, the Raiders, gets the worst offense. This is a game's got it all. Raiders fans, what's going on with your team? I know Josh McDaniels is as good a coach as John Gruden was an emailer, but how Derek Carr and Davante Adams can't get this going is puzzling to me. Jared Stidham finished this game for Christ's sake, after the Raiders offense produced barely 100 passing yards, 1 pick, and just 1 reception, and 3 yards for Davante Adams. Mark Davis is so sick about hiring Josh McDaniels, he hasn't been able to eat P.F. Chang's for 3 whole days. New Orleans didn't even do anything spectacular defensively. Just 3 sacks on Carr, 1 interception, but After Carr's opening drive, they never let the Raiders cross midfield. You don't make sense, Raiders. You went toe-to-toe with Kansas City, losing by 1 because of your dipshit head coach. You put up 38 on the Texans in a dominant win, and then scored 0 against the Saints defense, who just gave up 42 to the Cardinals last week and 30 to the Bengals. This was actually the first time in NFL history that a team which allowed 38 points the week prior shut out a team which scored 38 points the week prior. Best play? Let's go into old Kirk Cousins and his rushing touchdown. How fucking fast is Kirk Cousins, and why doesn't he do this more? This game actually had 2 of my favorite plays from the weekend, the second being this DeAndre Hopkins one-handed touchdown grab. It's like Hopkins reached out and snagged a bullet from the air. In terms of velocity, this has to be one of the fastest footballs snagged by a single hand. Best moment? My best moment goes to Geno Smith, who consoled receiver Tyler Lockett after dropping what would have been a huge touchdown. Geno went to Lockett on the bench, gave him a talk, and looked his way again so Lockett could redeem himself later in the game on a 33-yard TD. This shows what kind of leader Geno has become. From getting punched in the face by teammates to raising them up in crucial spots, which is why I now call him Genome Smith. He makes the Seahawks a complete set of genetic material, which Pete Carroll is also secretly harvesting for everlasting youth. Oh, I am getting word we have the audio of what Geno told Tyler Lockett on the sideline.
Disrespect my wife again, I will end you. I will fucking end you.
Worst moment? Richie James' nightmare performance against the Seahawks. James fumbled not just once, but twice in big spots yesterday, preventing the G-Men from mounting a comeback in Seattle. James wasn't just pulled from the game, he was knocked out of the game with a concussion, unfortunately. So who knows, maybe he won't even remember the worst game of his life. Best stat? Well, I'm gonna give this to Josh Allen, who got pressured on 2 out of every 5 dropbacks against the Packers, but in the face of pressure completed 6 of 9 passes for 166 yards and a pair of tuds. There's just not much you can do to beat this guy, is there? Joshy Allen had the worst second half of football this year for the QB, and he still looked unstoppable. Best game? Well, we got the Falcons and Panthers. Or as the world knows it, the Tom Brady irrelevancy game. Winner takes the division. And holy shit, was the fourth quarter of this one wild. 34 fourth quarter points. That's more than 28 plus 3, Atlanta. PJ Walker and Marcus Mariota combined for 570 passing yards. The Panthers produced 169 rushing yards without McCaffrey. This game was so insane that Kyle Pitts even caught a fucking touchdown. Imagine that. The last 2 touchdowns were what made this game officially roided up like Lyle Alzado. Damiere Byrd getting what I thought was the walk-off touchdown for the Falcons. Chef's kiss. A man named Bird winning the game for the Falcons. That'd be like finding out that Young Ho Koo is also actually a pimp. But then XFL legend PJ Walker answers with what Patrick Mahomes called the throw of the year on this dime to DJ Moore to tie the game with just a very unlucky 13 seconds left on the clock. That throw was 67 air yards for the game winner. You're not gonna find a much more impressive game-winning throw than that. But oh no, DJ Moore, no, he takes off his helmet and gets penalized for it. Honestly though, I think DJ knows what he's doing. He knows this win ain't worth not getting the first pick in the draft next year. All right? That penalty backs the PAT up to a 48-yarder. Poor Eddie Pinheiro misses. Pinheiro now sounds like an ingredient Russell Wilson wouldn't even put on the Danger Witch. My worst stat, sorry Eddie, over the last 20 seasons, there have been 2 instances of a kicker missing a potential go-ahead extra point in the final 30 seconds of regulation, and a potential game-winning field goal in overtime in the same game. Eddie Pinheiro did it, and Evan McPherson actually did it week 1. So you can bounce back, Eddie. And the Falcons win on the foot of Young Ho Koo in overtime. Best finish? Well, this is going to Taylor Heineke and the Washington Comadres, who looked like they might be dead in the water against the Colts. until Heineke lofted a 50-50 ball to Terry McLaurin, who came down with one of the best catches of the week. The commies punched it in and somehow improved to 500. And unfortunately, this is the 1 year 500 won't get you to the top of the NFC East. And finally, my worst finish goes to running back Najee Harris. On this 3rd and 3, where instead of lowering his shoulder like a big giant man might do and finishing the run, he treats the first down line like it's the 12th defender and jukes absolutely nobody. This looks like Derrick Henry having a seizure mid-run. This is like when she says, don't stop, don't stop. And all you can do at that point is, I stopped. Please check out my Broncos recap from the London game. That's already up here on the channel. And tomorrow I'll have power rankings, and then we got a Zach Wilson episode coming soon.